because it is my guilt, I claim you, grievous miracle. Make my chest hurt with regret. Forge your punishment and nail it deep. Shape my guilt once again.
That opening was very dark, but that's the whole theme of Blasphemous. It has a very bizarre art style and story, if you can understand it at all. I have no idea what the story is about, so I'm not going to go into that. The game is a Metroidvania, so as you unlock more and more abilities, you'll be able to discover more and more of the map, and you get more abilities for the battle as well. In the background you already can see the first boss battle, which teaches you very well how to dodge, and if you can, even parry, but his attacks are more recommended to dodge or just jump over. The first boss fight isn't anything too special. After a few attempts I was able to beat it and get my first trophy. And for whatever reason I ended up in the hardest area, because in the beginning you can pretty much pick in what order you want to beat the bosses, and I ended up in this castle or whatever, which has some lava in it, and I died a lot, and I eventually unlocked the trophy for killing 666 enemies. Now this next boss did give me some trouble, because his weak point was always out of reach, at least for the most part. Luckily there is an NPC that can help you with the boss fights early on, so you can accept her help and she will heal you, but it takes a while for her to charge, so she's not very reliable for the healing. And if for whatever reason you die, the only punishment you get is less MP. So it is not a huge deal, and if you pick up your essence or whatever you left behind, you get your MP bar back. This boss, as I said, is very hard, and in the second phase he raises both hands, or she, I'm not even sure, and attacks you with range attacks, so you are trying your best to stay out of trouble and hit his forehead. Eventually I did beat this boss and I could progress to the next area. Now this next boss looks like he belongs to a different game, like Silent Hill. He is relatively easy to fight, so this is probably the first boss you're supposed to encounter and fight. Even your magic can hit it, because the first magic you get only works on the ground. He has some range attacks with these roots, but other than that he isn't really special, so this was probably the easiest boss in the beginning that I beat without any trouble. Right after this boss is your first health upgrade with this NPC that's stabbed with a bunch of swords, so she is the one that gives you the health upgrades in this game. Obviously you're supposed to find them all, but for now I got the first one. Now there is a combat related trophy for parrying as well. This is for parrying and stunning 5 different enemies. On the way I encountered this NPC that you're supposed to pick up an item. First off, you're supposed to hatch her by bringing these 3 different items that are in this area, so they are not very hard to find, and she gives you an item that you're supposed to bring to a tree later on. That's what we're going to do at some point, so just keep that in your mind. And the next boss is I wouldn't say too hard. It's a little annoying because it is 3 separate witches that form into one body sometimes, so you just need to keep track on where every single one of them is. The fight is definitely easier when they form into a big body. They have some laser attack that they like to use, but other than that, it is not too difficult. Now, after you beat the first 3 bosses, the gate unlocks. That unlocks the other half of the game. For whatever reason, the NPC that I'm supposed to fight on the bridge didn't appear for me. There is a boss fight here, but yeah, for whatever reason, I don't even know what I did that they didn't appear on my first blind playthrough. I got a trophy for doing executions on 5 different types of enemies. This is relatively easy to do. After you stun the enemies, you can perform these finishing moves, so yeah, you should pick this trophy up as you progress in the game. And the next boss was this baby that also has like this snake part of it. I don't even know how to fight this boss because it has a bunch of ranged attacks. It has an instant kill attack when it summons a ring on the ground. If it gets you with that, you're just dead, and yep, you're done here. I tried to stand around this head that you're supposed to hit as much as possible, but it moves around a lot, so it's really hard to hit and really hard to predict how it's going to even move on or what attacks it's going to use. It even has a tail that it likes to use, so yeah, you're trying to avoid that as much as possible. And after this fight, the NPC died that you're able to call for help, so unlocked 2 trophies, one for beating this boss and one for this NPC dying. If this NPC dies, you get a miracle, so it is very recommended to use her as much as possible early on. Now, the first DLC the game got is the Bloodstained DLC, which is another Metroidvania game. This character, this woman, is the main character of that game, at least one of them. You enter these other challenge areas where you're supposed to beat it under a certain time, so this is very time you need to do some fast platforming. I didn't do all of them, I did like 3 or 2. So yeah, I can't really tell you much about this. And the next boss I encountered was this annoying skeleton dude that is held up by a bunch of different hands. You're supposed to avoid the lasers, you're supposed to avoid the staff, which is the hardest to avoid, and you're supposed to avoid the hands that try to grab you. There are hands that reach up from the other side from the map, and yeah, this is very hard to manage on your first time around. But even once you learn the pattern of this boss, it can be very unpredictable because it fires these lasers, and between the lasers it can reach up with the hands and still hit you, which is kinda cheap. I unlocked the next trophy for beating 51 different types of original enemies. The trophy is oddly specifically worded because you're only supposed to fight all the enemies in the original game, not the DLC, but eventually I found the DLC enemies too, because I didn't use a guide on my first attempt, so I was just goofing around the game to be surprised. Now, this pyramid head looking dude is relatively easy to fight. Only the second phase is a bit hard, where the fire around him gets bigger. But yeah, it's very predictable how he moves, and you can even parry his when he's lunging towards you, what I didn't know on my first time around here. But yeah, this is a very easy boss fight so late in the game, so yeah, you should be able to beat this without any trouble. Now I'm not quite sure why I came back here. I think this unlocks ability for you once you bring this egg that this NPC gave you, that three-headed bearded lady. Yeah, I got a trophy for this. I did use a guide for some parts I didn't, so I think once you bless this item you get ability where it summons roots or the blood platforms appear. Not quite sure, one of those two. There is an NPC at the beginning of the game. You need to donate some body parts for it, so you get this trophy. Yeah, I just had the body parts, so for whatever reason I was able to do this even without a guide. Now for whatever reason I was on the path to unlock Ending C, which one of these DLC bosses is required. This giant snake looking dude that summons lasers and lunges forward to you. You are supposed to fight this much later when your sword is stronger, when you have more health and more MP to cast more miracles. I eventually learned the pattern of this boss. It took a while because I fought it much earlier on than I was intended to. There is no trophy for this, but yeah, if you collect this eye from him, you can bring it to an NPC and unlock Ending C. I didn't unlock Ending C, so I don't even know what it's about. Next DLC boss, which is the hardest boss in the base game, is this I don't even know how to describe this. You see it on the screen. She has a sight, she can use fire, she summons fire around her in the second phase. Yeah, the first phase is somewhat manageable, the second phase is a lot harder because of the fire projectiles that she summons. You can kinda limit the fire wall ability around her if you jump close and destroy the fireballs that she's trying to absorb. You unlock this boss, by the way, if you collect enough bone fragments, so yeah, that's what I did. And yeah, this is also a boss that you're supposed to fight much later on, but I was like, nope, I am going to do this, I am going to learn the pattern, and eventually I did beat her. Now let's get back to track and grab some trophies. There is this alternate world you can enter where you can bless all the objects. You get a trophy for blessing all of them, and I unlocked a trophy for all of the items that give you special abilities to traverse the world. There is actually a NES version of Blasphemous. Inside Blasphemous there is an arcade cabinet you can find. There is only a skin for this if you collect 5 skeleton heads or golden skeleton heads. I think for that you need to beat the game. I'm not sure. I didn't get too far in this, but this is definitely fun, even if the only thing you can is jump and hit. This is a room you can enter a lot earlier. There is a grave you can jump into and find this room. You get a trophy for entering it. I think there is also a miracle here or an item that you can pick up. So yeah, there's that. Nothing too special about it other than the fact I unlocked it a bit differently than intended. You are supposed to collect all these floating cherubs after you have all the abilities and all the items that you need to traverse the map. You can do this relatively easy. After that, I unlocked a trophy for buying all the items from the merchant. I eventually found all the health upgrades, so I got a trophy for that as well. To unlock ending A, you're supposed to destroy these statues you pray to. If you die and your MP bar is depleted. But yeah, after you destroy them, there's also a special bead you need to equip and die, I think like 4 or 3 times. And once that bead is corrupted because you died 4 or 3 times, you can enter these arenas. Once you clear out all the arenas, you unlock a trophy. I get a trophy for collecting all the beads in the game. Those are the accessories that give you different kinds of buffs. Following a guide, I found this secret room, which gave me the final equipment on the sword. They are not very strong, so I didn't mess around with these too much. The final skeleton part was collected too, so that popped a trophy too. There are a lot of these, so yeah, it is hard to keep track of them. The MP upgrades are hidden usually behind illusory walls, so after I found all of them, I got a trophy for that as well. And there is an obscure ability in the game. You can talk to dead people. You're supposed to talk to a few and unlock this trophy. It's very annoying. I wasn't a huge fan of this. And since I was in this final area, I beat the boss that's right before the final boss. She is very fun to fight once you figure out how to parry her and avoid her attacks. Definitely the most fun boss fight in the base game, but here I kinda still sucked at the game. But I was able to take her down because I was so overpowered at this point. And after that, I unlocked the trophy for finding all the different areas in the game. I upgraded all the flasks to maximum, so there's a trophy for that as well. Entering this room completes a quest, and I think there was a collectible here for me as well that I needed for a trophy. Yeah, it was the final knot piece, my rosary bead, so you need knots that you can equip more rosary beads so you can have more buffs on your character. For whatever reason, this NPC was still alive, so I was able to complete this quest as well. This is one of those NPCs that can die very easily. I wasn't even aware of that, I just got lucky, I guess. If you give him this item, you get a trophy for finishing his quest, and he also gives you a miracle, which is the spells in the game. I got a trophy for that as well. Now I was trying to still figure out, because I didn't have the 100% map collection. I was just like, okay, let's fight the final boss, who is 2 phases. The first phase is this Pope looking dude, and the second phase is a bit more chaotic. You fight this giant skeleton that has a sword first you need to destroy the sword, so the face plate opens up so you can hit the face and make any damage to this boss. It's more annoying than difficult, to be honest, but it's very chaotic to keep track of all of its attacks because it just fires all over the map. You get a trophy for beating him. And I of course unlocked the trophy for ending A, finishing off my first playthrough. Now I wanted to do the speedrun trophy on the New Game Plus because you can ascend your save file and you can you pretty much keep all your rosary beads, your every collectible that you need, that you collected, all the magic, except for the fact that the rosary knots are not available for you, so you are not able to equip all the equipment or accessories you want, and your health bar and your MP bar also are not completely maxed out, so you would need to collect all those collectibles if you want to max your character again out. Here I finally beat the boss that was supposed to appear in the first playthrough. For whatever reason I could fight him here. Another tip I would like to say is to upgrade the church, because you can donate your money or whatever currency the game has inside the church, and if you use 20,000 of your currency to upgrade your church, you get to fast travel between the rest points on the map. Now on New Game Plus I'm not able to do a whole lot, or at least I don't do a lot. I just unlock ending B and I start another playthrough where I attempt to get the trophy for the 100% map collection and everything else that I'm missing. Now there is a boss you can fight only once. This flying character appears only once and you have to beat her right away. The other trophy I am trying to get here is to beat all the bosses without using the flask, the healing items, so we are trying to collect everything on the third playthrough and beat all the bosses without healing. And yeah, you only have one shot at this trophy, so you had to beat her at your first attempt. There's a bit confusing trophy where you have to travel back at the beginning of the map to keep the NPCs alive. I am able to do that trophy as well during this playthrough because I'm following a guide step by step. Oh, and I actually figure out what I was missing. I did unlock this room on my first playthrough, but behind it there is the final sword upgrade, so that's the thing I was missing on my first playthrough. That's why I was unable to do the 100% map collection. So yeah, if you open the sword upgrade room, make sure to upgrade your sword as well. I grind a bit. There is a method where you can keep killing the same enemy over and over again and you get a lot of currency for that. So using that exploit I was able to get all the abilities and get the trophy for that. Once again I have to beat the final boss of the game, this time without using any healing items. So for that we get the trophy for beating all of the main game bosses without using healing items. You can use healing items on the map or traveling around, and even you can use the healing items on the DLC bosses, except for the original bosses in the game. And this trophy took its sweet time to pop, but finally I get the trophy for the 100% map completion. Now I start a new playthrough for this because you need to get to the halfway point in the game to open the gate under 3 hours. So yeah, I was able to do this within 1.5 hours. So yeah, you just beat all the bosses, make sure to be as fast as possible so you don't pick up any collectibles on the way. And there was one more quest I need to do, which is to make that NPC kill himself first, that priest looking dude, and I had to lead this other NPC to his dead body, which popped the final trophy and the platinum trophy for Blasphemous. But we are not going to stop here yet. We are going to beat the DLC bosses with our first Ascended save file. Even though we are not completely maxed out, I'm just going to try for it and see what happens. Now the first DLC boss that I'm fighting is this dude with the sword. Well, skeleton dude with its sword. All the DLC bosses have one thing in common, one gimmick in common, that they have first a defensive barrier around them that you need to destroy, and during the fight they try to make that barrier appear around them again. This boss is one of those bosses where I was unable to prevent that from happening. At the beginning I was able to do it consistently, but later on it wasn't that easy. The boss itself fires these green projectiles that you can either destroy with your sword or parry with your sword, but I just used this magic with these orbs that destroyed them on the way. The other thing that it likes to do, when you first hit him, it teleports away and leaves a shadow behind that explodes. And yeah, by the way, when they create their force fields again, they make an explosion once again. But I was able to beat this boss, so let's move on to the next one. The next one I fought was this guy with the axe. This one was a bit easier to fight, even if he had a gimmick other than the shield made the map smaller by making these air force fields. He is kinda slow, so you can predict his movements very easily. There is one attack where he swings his axe around all over the place, what I was unable to dodge or parry, but other than that, all the attacks were easy to dodge or parry or do whatever. So this was one of the easier DLC bosses that I took down. Now I would say this is the technically second hardest DLC boss, this dude that summons thunder and he makes these spiky platforms appear that he can destroy by lunging towards you. So yeah, this is very hard to manage, and he can also appear on those floating platforms where you are unable to jump up to, except if you jump up on those spiky platforms that he summons. Yeah, so this is probably the most difficult out of the four. And yeah, you need to beat 4 to unlock the last one. But we haven't talked about the first one, which is one with these bow and arrow. He fires force, electric, I don't even know what they are, but sometimes they cover up the whole map and you're supposed to time your jump to avoid them or climb up on the wall to avoid them, but I was unable to do that. Other than that attack that covers the whole screen in electric wires or whatever, the other attacks are pretty easy to avoid, so this was another easy boss fight to do. And I'm sure you're wondering, whoa, all of that just to fight one more boss? And what's his gimmick? Well, his gimmick is that he's all of the previous bosses together. So the first phase is teleporting sword dude that likes to fire these green projectiles at you and teleports around and explodes. The only main gimmick here is that you are unable to prevent him to summon his crystal protecting field around him, because that's the indication that he's going to the next phase. And the second phase is probably the hardest. He's using the moveset of the electric dude, where he summons these spikes around that can explode and everything like that. Master all of the previous boss fights to stand any chance against him. And you're wondering, sure, there are no walls around, so the bow and the arrow guy is going to be easier. Well, not quite. After you destroy his shield around him, platforms are starting to appear and you have to climb higher and higher. For him, it is going to be easier to hit you. Well, the good thing is I figured out here that you can parry his arrows, so once you figure out that, the fight becomes very easy. Well, kinda. You just have to parry the arrows correctly. After that, the last phase is the axe dude, which is super easy because there are no fire force fields around to trap you into a smaller area. So yeah, that's probably the easiest part of this whole boss fight. And once you beat him, you can go down and get a special sword equipment thingy, what I'm probably not even going to use at this point. Yeah, that's the Blasphemous Platinum and the DLC bosses. I didn't do the platforming ones because it's just not for me, but the rest of the game was very enjoyable and challenging. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, and maybe I'll do Blasphemous 2 with all the DLC as well.